Welcome back to the ALSA UK podcast. Today's guest is someone whose life is shaped by many threads: British, Indian, Iranian, and now Albanian. Sara Payman is a singer, storyteller, and a trained dentist, but her real gift lies in the way she brings emotion and meaning into everything she touches. Whether through her tribute song 10, which honors the 10 Bahá'í women executed in Shiraz in 1983, or through her delicate performances of Albanian serenades, Sara's work is about more than just voice. It's about presence, purpose, and cultural care. She grew up in the UK but found something in Albania, something that made her stay, learn the language, and build a life that stretches across heritage and heart. In a world that often asks us to fit into one box, Sara shows us what it means to belong in layers. It's a pleasure to have you, Sara.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So if someone met you for the first time through your presence, not your CV or Instagram, what would you hope they understand about you?
I think I'd want them to realize that I'm quite open-minded and I'm not going to judge them. So whatever background they have, whatever opinions they have, whatever they believe in, I'm open to hearing it and I'm not going to judge them and we can still be friends, whatever they think.
Great. And of course, you carry so many cultures with British, Indian, and Iranian heritage. One of the problems we have that we always see with our guests and also our viewers is the battle of identities sitting together in today's world. How does that happen with you, and have they shaped you over time?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely connected to each of my cultural identities in different ways. Um, And well, so because I was born and raised in the UK, I feel like overall I'm most culturally British. And that's something you can't really escape if you've grown up in the UK. It's such a strong identity. But equally, I definitely have strong roots with my Indian. So my mum's Indian and my dad's Iranian. So with those sides. But the thing is, what I would say that actually links them all together is my faith. Um, so I'm a Bahá'í, and in the Bahá'í faith, we believe that everybody is equal and that there's a celebration of unity in diversity. So having all these different backgrounds together is really beautiful. It's like we're all flowers of one garden, and the more different coloured flowers you have, the more beautiful that garden is. Um, so that's why I didn't really feel like particularly connected to one country in particular. It was more like as a Baha'i, this links everything together, so it made sense in my mind from a young age.
And let's get into what you do work. As you know, I said you're a dentist, you're doing loads of Albanian songs, you've grown your personal brand. If you were to tell people when you go onto stage, who is Sara, what would you say?
I'd say I'm from England, but I now live in Albania, and I love performing traditional Albanian songs, but also songs that evoke emotion or nostalgia, um, or that create some kind of discussion on a social topic.
And of course, with your songs, of course, 10 is one of the most powerful tributes you've done, which links to your religion, both personal and political. What did it take to emotionally to write from your grandfather's perspective, I think it was?
Yeah, so I remember at the time there was a campaign because it was coming up to the 40-year anniversary of the death of those 10 Baha'i women in Shiraz. And there was a call for different artists, musicians to create pieces of art to honor those women. And I remember thinking, I really want to do something for this. And I tried to write a song, and just like nothing, I felt like nothing I did was doing it justice. And then one day I just thought, well, actually, I kind of have a quite personal connection to this because 2 years before those women were killed, my own grandfather was killed. And I was like, that's actually quite a unique perspective to have. So then I thought, I wonder if he had been alive, what he would have thought about that whole situation. Or I quite like the idea of thinking that maybe they've met in some afterlife. I don't know. So that's how the idea was born of trying to write it from his perspective. And then as soon as I had that idea, the music and the lyrics just came to me really quickly. So I basically then wrote the song in a day. Um, and I don't know, like maybe there was some inspiration from my grandfather directly, who knows? But I just feel like the fact that it came to me so quickly after I thought of that idea is something really powerful.
What were the emotions of you actually performing it? How did that moment feel for you?
I remember being in the studio, and so we'd written all the music, and now it was just coming to record the vocals. And I remember being quite emotional. I was like, this feels so epic. Like, I've never, obviously, I'd heard the story of these 10 women and also of my grandfather. And I never had a chance to meet my grandfather because he passed away long before I was born. But I felt like in some way this connected me to him for the first time. And something else that was really powerful is my grandmother, who's still alive. I got her to record saying the names of those 10 women, and I embedded that somewhere in the song as well. Um, and so whenever I hear her voice in in that song, even though she's still alive, I get quite emotional about it, because I just think it's so amazing. It's just something so special, that she's here to tell her story. And because she herself has had a really difficult time. So she was put in prison as well for being a Baha'i, and she was tortured in prison, but she made it out alive and has now made it to England where she's safe. Um, so yeah, it just it makes me quite emotional whenever I perform, and because of that, I don't really perform it lightly. Like, I don't usually sing it at concerts or things like that. Just because I feel like the mood has to be right for it, and the people there need to understand the backstory. And I don't necessarily want to make things too serious or heavy all the time. But in the right places and the right moments, I think it's quite powerful and very special to sing.
100%. And what was the community when you performed it in front of them? How did they respond to it? What was the feedback you got from them?
So when I first performed it live, it was an event that was organized by the Baha'i community, in honor of these 10 women for their 40th year anniversary of their passing. Um, so because of that, I already felt there was like quite a special energy in the room because everyone was aware of this story. And the response was really positive. So what was amazing was like some people had already they'd I guess listened to it online, and so they already knew some of the words and they were like singing along with me. And there's a part in the song where I've kind of created a choir, but like with my own voice just layered. Um, and people were like singing along with that choir, and it just felt there was such a great energy in the room. Yeah, it was amazing.
What a special moment. And thank you for so much. It's very personal. So thank you for telling us. And let's go broader. Of course, you do so much songwriting. When you do write, do you start with a feeling, a memory, a message, or does it just change with each piece? I know for 10, you said it just came to you one day. How does it work for the others?
Yeah, I would say my songwriting process is quite random. Um, so usually it will be like either a random idea or a phrase will come to me. So, for example, I wrote a song called Fire in the Sky, which is about children in war zones. And um, just, I remember like the phrase fire in the sky came to me because I was thinking, like, from their perspective, from the perspective of an innocent child, it's like they don't understand why they're in this war zone, and they're not thinking about the politics or the conflict, who's on what side. They're just thinking, why is there fire in the sky that I'm looking at? So that phrase came to me, and then I kind of like built the song around just that one phrase. Um, so yeah, usually it's something like that, like a phrase or a line will come to me. I'll think of it, and then I'll like work around it from there. So I rarely start from the top and do it in a linear way.
And when you do perform these songs and serenades, what has been your favorite piece of feedback or conversation you've had after you have performed?
So I did a concert in Tirana a couple of months ago, and a girl came up to me at the end, and she was like, "I don't know how how are you so happy? Like, how you have such a bright energy. Where do you get your energy from? And the funny thing is that girl is a dentist, and because I think I'd mentioned in the concert that I'm also a dentist. Um, so we had like a little funny exchange about how, I get my energy from teeth, but then I was like, no, I'm just joking. But I think it's really like, because I love singing so much, and it's kind of like it's a dream for me that I never really bothered to pursue because I thought it was so unrealistic. That I feel like I get my energy through performing to people, and just seeing how happy it makes them feel. So like if I'm singing an old Albanian song and I see like a Jushia, her face just lights up because she's like, oh, this reminds her of her childhood, or things like that. So it's just seeing the way that people react to the songs that just like fills my heart.
Amazing. And as you mentioned there, you trained as a dentist as well, and you also create art across both two different cultures now. How have you learned to honor both paths without splitting yourself in two sometimes?
Yeah, so it is difficult not to do that. I feel like I have, in a way, kind of compartmentalized myself. So I always joke with people like I have a double life. So um yeah, I keep, because dentistry isn't very creative. I mean, it is actually quite artistic in a way. Like, you do have to have a good eye for beauty, but it's very different to singing and songwriting. Um so I haven't been very good, to be honest, at linking linking the two. Um, I guess I keep them quite separate, and it's kind of, I almost use the dentistry as a way to fund the music, because making music and producing music is actually quite expensive. Um, Even like putting on concerts, things like that, you have to pay the musicians, and you have to pay to go to studios and record. So um at the moment, it's just a really good safety net to have that, and I think I'm really lucky that I actually pursued that, so I have that there. But then I can also, it's really easy to work part-time as a dentist, especially in the UK, so that gives me the time to focus on the things I love and I'm more passionate about.
So you grew up in the UK, born and raised in the UK, but now you've come to Albania, you're rooted in Albania. What does each place give you emotionally, spiritually, and also creatively?
I think the UK for me is always home. It always feels like home. And I feel most like myself there because I can express myself better. Obviously, that's my first language. Um, but I feel like Albania has a lot more of a kind of spiritual energy to it. And I think almost everyone here, or at least everyone that I've spoken to, at least believes in God. Even if they're not religious, they have this concept of a higher being or a creator, which is something that I think is sometimes missing in the UK, and it can be a bit awkward, like to even talk about spiritual things or spirituality. Um, so in a way, I feel more like accepted in that way, with in terms of my religion and my faith and beliefs when I'm in Albania.
And you've spoken a lot about spirituality here as well. So was there a particular moment or experience that deepened your connection to your faith? Or was it just truly, it just came to you one day?
I was quite lucky because my parents are both Baha'is, so they brought me up as a Baha'i. But in the Baha'i faith, there's actually a big focus on, you're supposed to investigate the truth independently. So that you're not supposed to have blind faith. Like, it's all about you reading around this topic, reading about different religions, and then coming to your own conclusion. And then at age 15, that's when you are spiritually mature. So that's when you are allowed to decide if you want to be a Baha'i, if you want to be another religion or whatever. So when I was 15, I already felt quite a strong connection with the Baha'i faith. And the reason for that is because it's a very practical religion. So it's not really about the rituals or the worship side of things. It's more about actually social action. So yeah, like doing things within your community to create unity and that kind of thing. Um, and every year I used to go, there's these national events in the UK. So I used to go to those and meet loads of different Baha'is. And I feel like that really encouraged me within my faith. And I guess that also helped me to lead to the decision that I wanted to be a Baha'i.
Now you're in Albania, of course, there's not many Baha'is. How do you still stay connected with your faith?
Yeah, well, so there aren't many. There's a small community within Tirana, and I see them fairly regularly. It's probably like maybe 20 people that I see on a regular basis within Tirana. So that helps me stay connected. But it's also so one of the things I love to do is put the words of the Baha'i faith into music. So writing songs based around those words. And sometimes when I'm reading the words, my mind drifts off a bit. I'm not really that focused, but by singing them or putting them to music, I feel like it really connects me more spiritually, and I understand the words a lot more. And to be honest, now I've even been doing that in Albanian as well. So with the Albanian translation of the words from the Baha'i writings, I'm putting those to music. And yeah, I love that. I feel like it it opens up a new perspective on the words.
Question I have to you is, a lot of people who might want to move back to Albania or move to Albania, as you said, you found 20. How do you find these communities? How do you get in contact with each other?
Each Baha'i community has a different, well, it's all about geographical location. So most cities have a community. As long as there's 9 members in that city, it counts as a community, and it has an assembly of people who like come together, organize events, discuss things like that. So you can just email the Baha'is of whatever country you're in, and there's a website, Baha'i.org, and that can put you in touch with Baha'is all around the world. And it's really cool actually, because sometimes if I'm visiting like a random country that I've never been to, and I'm feeling a bit lost or something, I can just find the Baha'i email address, and then they're so welcoming. They'll be like, yeah, come over, you can even stay with us even though we've never met you, like things like that. So yeah, it's a very international community. It's very warm and welcoming.
It's very beautiful. And of course, now you're in Albania, you visited a lot for a number of years, but now you've chose to stay. What made you take that decision?
So my husband Naim, he grew up in Albania, and even though he's not Albanian, but that's a whole other story. So when we were kind of discussing about getting married and things like that, he always mentioned to me that he wanted to move back to Albania. And I was really unsure because I didn't know anything about Albania. And in fact, everything that I had heard was pretty negative, unfortunately. So, but he just convinced me to come have a visit. And he was like, look, I'm not going to force you there to stay as a prisoner, but just come and have a visit, and you might enjoy it. You never know. So I went to visit just for a weekend. And I fell in love with it already. I just thought it was one of the most beautiful places I'd ever seen. Um, so then I wanted to go visit more. So we would go like maybe once a month. And then eventually at some point, I said, actually, I'd rather stay here most of the time than the UK. So we ended up flipping it the other way, where we would stay in Albania and then just go to England like one weekend a month or something. So we kind of phased it out slowly, and then probably after around a year, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to just settle in Albania. There's no reason why not for me. I feel really good here. I love it. So yeah.
What are the biggest things you've actually loved about Albania as well? Of course, as you said, you had maybe some preconceptions of what the media was portraying about Albanians before you came. Of course, you put your step in the door, but what did you find here that was like, wow, this is completely different to what I first thought?
Well, I think the main difference was that it was really safe. Like I had no idea how safe it would be, and not only is it safer than how the media make it out to be, or make Albanians out to be, but it's not just that. It's like literally the safest country I've ever been to, and I I think the crime rates are pretty low from what I've read, and I feel when I'm walking around like as a woman late at night, I don't really feel scared. I'm not really like always turning to look over my shoulder in the same way that I am in England, for example. Um, so yeah, I think that was like the difference. And I think the other thing as well is, I don't know, in my mind it was like a third world country. Um, because my mum's from India, so I've been to India a few times, and that is actually a developing country. So in my mind, I thought it would be similar to that in some ways, but it's not at all. It's way more developed. I mean, Tirana, for example, is like it's like a mini New York. Some people say like it's got everything. There's so much to do. You can basically find everything in Albania. So yeah.
100%. And of course, with your strong connection to Albania as well, you've been performing Albanian songs, serenades that carry very deep emotional ones. I know I've heard the ones you've done for like Skoda history as well. They have so much cultural weight. What responsibility do you feel stepping into that space? And what helps you actually approach it? Because it is very, very emotional.
Yeah, so I feel like some of the songs, especially some of the ones by Vachezela, um, so there's one in particular, Revne Këngë Ligjerime, which I sang at the final of a singing competition here, and it was like on TV. That one I was actually quite scared to sing because I know how much weight it carries and how dear Vachezela is in Albanian people's hearts because she's such a legend. Um, and I just really wanted to do it justice. And I think the main thing is that I wanted to make it very clear I'm not trying to imitate her in any way. I can never be at her level, but the point is I want to honor that beautiful song and the meaning and the memory behind that song, but with my own voice. And I think maybe as someone whose husband is like, even though he's technically not ethnically Albanian, he's very culturally Albanian because he grew up here the same way and he went to like a local school. That's his first and main language. So because he he speaks a very, very high level of Albanian. Like he's really properly studied the language, so his grammar is perfect. He grew up listening to these songs, so he's the one who taught me these songs. And at the beginning, it was just a way to help me learn the language. Then I ended up falling in love with these songs as well. So he's really guided me through it. Like he's very strict with my pronunciation. He's always correcting me. Like if he sees my videos, he'll always stop and be like, "Why did you say it like this? It's not this. It's this." Like so I think because of that, it gave me a lot more confidence because I was like, well, a native Albanian speaker has kind of been training me in that sense. Um, so that's why I felt that I could try to do it justice without embarrassing myself. And yeah.
Amazing. And for context for the listeners, who is Naeem? Because just so they understand as well.
So yeah, so Naim is my husband. Naim grew up in Albania because his parents moved from Italy to Albania in 91, just after the fall of communism. And his dad is ethnically Iranian, so he's Iranian by origin, but born and raised in Italy. And his mum is half German, half Iranian, but born and raised in Germany. His parents met in Italy, and then they moved together to Albania in 91, and that's where they raised their family. And they still live here. So yeah, they've been here for like 34 years.
We'll go back onto the songs, etc. You visited so many cities in Albania and heard all of these songs. What are moments that you've seen in cities, or maybe someone singing in the Pedonalia or something, that you remember and was like, wow, I really want to cover that song?
I was just in Tirana, to be honest, in the square, and there was somebody playing the clarinet, and I think he was playing the tune of Tuman Kuche, but I hadn't heard it at that point. But I just thought, wow, this is such a beautiful melody. And this was like very early on when I moved, so I wasn't very familiar with the music or like the concept of popolore, things like that. Um, but yeah, I remember like I recorded it on my phone because I was like, I want to try and find out what that tune is. And then funnily enough, randomly, like someone on Instagram sent me that song and was like, can you please cover this song? And then I put the two together. I was like, oh, this is what that guy was playing on the clarinet. Yeah, so then I ended up covering that one, and now I often do it at concerts or gigs and stuff because I really like that song.
Amazing. Tuvan culture is very beautiful. It is. And what are some small everyday things about Albanian life that, as you said, you feel safe, but also makes you feel grounded here?
I think just the way that if you enter any space, meet anyone, they'll always say "See ya," like "How are you?" Just and that's so not like you. It's such a small thing, but you kind of take it for granted because sometimes in other places you walk in somewhere and usually they'll just ignore you, but at the most they'll be like a little nod. But to actually ask a complete stranger like Sia, how are you? Like it just kind of makes me feel like, oh, I'm welcomed in this space. So yeah, I think that's probably something that helps me feel grounded, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember growing up, any like friend who would like try and learn Albanian would say, "How do you say hello?" And I'm like, I actually don't know the word for hello. I know the word for how are you because everyone
Yeah.
says see you, but I didn't know President did. Yeah, so
Yeah, exactly. Because it's quite formal.
yeah,
It's like you don't really say that,
exactly.
but Sia is like, yeah.
How are you? Everyone always asks, "Hey, law, like,
Yeah.
are you tired?"
Yeah,
It's very
yeah.
emotional, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
And what are some of the biggest differences you've found in Albania compared to England? Because a lot of our viewers, I get messages say, I want to move back to Albania, but I've only been born and raised in England. How have you found it? How easy has it been to live there, to get even just papers or visas, etc.? How has that process been?
Well, I can go through like a bit of the pros and cons. So pros is that it's really easy to get from Albania to England. It's like 2.5 hour direct flight. Also really relatively cheap. Yeah. Like 15 or £20. That's cheaper than a train ticket to London from Cambridge where I live.
I always say that I can get from Tirana to London quicker and cheaper than from Wolverhampton to London.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely a pro. So that makes in a way that made the decision for me a lot easier because I was like, worst case, I can just get a quick flight home and I'm there in like a couple hours. Um I would say also because you can basically get everything that you can get in England, you can get here. It might be a little bit more expensive sometimes if it's imported. But like, yeah, all the little creature comforts, things that you get in the supermarket, you can find it here. So that's also a pro. Um, in terms of like citizenship and that kind of thing, if you have a British passport, in theory, it's quite easy to get the resident permit. But the reason I say in theory is just because there are quite a few hurdles you have to jump, and like there is a lot of bureaucracy here. So you do the way that things are, uh, the processes are sometimes a bit tricky. Like if they might miss an email or something, but then it becomes your fault. Like you then have to pay a fine, even though it wasn't your fault. And then um, things get delayed. So from that point of view, it can be a bit difficult. Um, but I'm still here, so I guess it
It's
ended up
worth
all
it.
right.
It's true. The systems in England are, of course, at a higher level. Even me now, everything takes a bit of time. It takes like a day's work, but at the end of the day, it's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in the UK, like the gov.uk website, it's pretty easy. Like, if you want to pay your car tax or whatever, like it's just a quick form online and you're done in like 5 minutes. So that kind of thing, it does take a lot longer here. Um, but it's minor compared to everything else, I would say. So it's not something that I would let you put you off coming, if you know what I mean.
Definitely. And it's growing as well because I've actually got my electricity bill on an app for the first time in 20 years.
Oh, cool. Nice.
I don't have to go to the town to pay for my electricity
There
bill.
you go, progress.
So it's coming. We'll touch on your personal brand. You've grown such an online presence, which is thoughtful, personal, and also you perform all your songs. How do you decide what parts of yourself to share publicly and what to keep sacred?
That's a good question. So I think In general, I'm quite an open book, so I don't really have like secrets or any like deep personal things that I don't really want to share. Um, but to be honest, I'm not that good at posting. So like, there are often some life updates and stuff that I actually don't post about, but not because of out of principle, but just because like, let's say if it's like someone's birthday or something, I'm actually there enjoying the moment. So I'm not actually thinking about videoing it and posting it and stuff like that. But I know like a lot of other influencers are, and they're quite conscious of doing that. Um, I would say the only thing that I struggle with sometimes is whether like my British and my like Albanian identity, because obviously I know if I post stuff in Albanian, all my British friends and followers are not gonna understand. But then when I post just like me being me, speaking in English, like making kind of British banter or jokes, like then the Albanians don't understand. And sometimes that's quite funny because they often reply to things and they're like, "Oh, are you okay?" Like they take it really seriously when I'm just making a joke about myself or something like that. So yeah, that I'm still learning about where if I should just like go fully Albanian content, or I don't know where I should draw the line on that. So I'm still learning. Yeah, I don't know.
Definitely. And how do you feel? Like, what do you? It's a great topic to speak because, of course, people are trying to grow their personal brand, and even me is when you try and make content, it's about deciding that who the audience is for as well, I guess. And sometimes I think we always get into our head because we see everything and we've focused on the negative. So we see the Albanian who commented on English post not understanding it. But mainly for the 99%, it's probably that oh, they did understand it, but they're just not vocal about it at that point.
Yeah.
So it's very cool to understand. And even me myself, sometimes I try Albanian subtitles and English, but it's just a balance because then also you don't want the video to look messy.
I think the problem I had is because when I first started posting in Albanian, I wasn't thinking about who my audience are. Like at the beginning, I was just posting covers of me singing anything. So it was actually English songs at first. I just wanted to share my voice with people. And then it was just by chance I posted an Albanian one, and that one went viral. So then I was like, oh, but let me test the algorithm a bit more. And then it was always the Albanian ones that picked up. So then it just kind of came out of that by chance, that then my like niche or audience was Albanians. And then I ended up growing it from there. But then, yeah, obviously when I'm posting English songs or things like that, and it gets a lot less views or engagement, yeah, I just have to be aware of the fact that like most of my followers now are Albanian, so they won't really understand that or care about it, to be honest.
Also talking about that, personal brand is very like visual and strategic as well. But how do you make it feel more like storytelling as you do and something else away from it?
I think because I personally really enjoy making content, it's not like a chore for me. So as I said, I'm not doing it as a regiment, like because I think I have to. When I post something, it's actually just because I really want to, or it's something that genuinely I thought was interesting. Um, so I feel like when I post and I'm detached from the outcome, so I'm not thinking about, oh, who's going to view it, like how many likes it's going to get, whatever, then usually those posts end up being more authentic and actually end up doing better by chance. So, I think, yeah, it's more about like staying authentic to yourself, just speaking in the videos how you would speak to a friend. Like if you were telling your friend about your day, but like literally just saying that into the voiceover of the video that you're posting, stuff like that. I think that's probably the best way to do like authentic storytelling. Otherwise, it's not really you. You're just imitating another influencer, for example. And nobody wants to see that because there are enough influencers.
Exactly. Personal brand is all about authenticity as well. It's personal. So if people want to see it, they want to see what you present properly. And that happens with when people come to engage with your work and your social presence, what kind of experience or energy do you hope they leave with?
I think what I want them to feel is just positivity. So usually I want them to feel uplifted, or just like maybe if they're having a bad day, that it might just brighten up their day a bit. Maybe there's a bit of humor in there. Like I try not to take it too seriously. So like sometimes I'll make mistakes in the songs, but then I'll like write about it in the caption. I'll be like, this is a test to see who watched till the end, like where I made a mistake, something like that. So I think just like light-hearted, friendly. I guess I also kind of want them to see me as a friend, maybe. Like, and also that's why I almost always reply to messages I get. Obviously, if they're like hate messages, then maybe not. But I get a lot of really nice, positive messages, and I always try to take the time to reply to them, or answer their questions or whatever. So I think I want people to see me as like an online friend, someone who's relatable, who they can talk to. Like, yeah.
So, of course, you were touching about hate comments there. What response have you gained from like communities where you've actually come back to Albania and live now?
So I think it's been a mixed response. I would say the majority of the comments are really positive. Like, people have a lot of respect. They're really impressed by the fact that I've decided to move to Albania and try to learn the language, sing the songs, etc. But there are also a few hateful comments. So, some of them I think are rooted in racism. So they're like, go back to India, or things like that. And then there are some people who say like, oh, you're only living in Albania, or like you're only posting Albanian content for the views, for the likes, because maybe they probably don't know the backstory, like the fact that my husband's kind of from here, and essentially we moved back to his home. Like, it's not like we just picked a random place. But yeah, I'd say the majority of the hate comments are mostly racist or ignorant comments. So, just like anti-Indian stuff, I guess, without them knowing the full story, or just making assumptions, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And how do you deal with that in that sense as well? Of course, you can focus on the good, but the hate does also take an effect. How do you best deal with it?
I try to use hate as an opportunity to educate. So, if people post things saying about like, oh, Albania's becoming full of immigrants now, like all these Indians coming to Albania and ruining our country, things like that. I almost always reply with the same quote, which in Albanian is Toka është një vend I vetëm dhe njerëzit janë qytetarët e tij, or in English, the earth is but one country and mankind its citizens. So the fact that like these borders between countries are just random lines drawn on a map at the end of the day, and actually we're all one human family. Doesn't really matter where you're from, where you've moved to, and also maybe even getting them to reflect on the fact that they themselves might even be an immigrant from Albania to another country. So we're in the same position, like we're in the same boat. So why is it any different, really? So and then usually they will just reply with like more hate or whatever. But I think what's more powerful is the other people reading that, and like reading the dialogue that we have, kind of like sparks the conversation, because then it's so interesting to see like you get people coming to my defense, or people attacking me more, like, and then at some point I just step out of the conversation. I just leave them to have it. So it's interesting.
It's very interesting, and thank you for sharing, because I think, as you said, it's a beautiful approach of when there's hate is to educate, and yes, engagement or whatever, but it's a fact of, as you said, most of those people that are commenting are immigrants themselves at the end of the day, will be in the diaspora, and it's just they were uneducated or ignorant, as you mentioned, and that, as you said, it's a beautiful quote that I haven't heard in a while, that the world is everyone's at the end of the day. We're all people. And it's beautiful. And I know all of those are the vocal minority as well, is what we have to say, that they're not the majority at all. And the majority embrace that you're here, embrace that people are coming, enjoying our culture, seeing the beautiful things which we also longed for as well. I remember growing up, we always wanted to show who Albania is, where Albania is, and now it's come to a beautiful time where people know and are embracing the culture, and to take that as a fact. And the vocal minority will always be there. It's hard to ever take it out, but it's about the majority and embracing culture, seeing that you've taken a step, because for many of them that will be commenting as well, they're too scared to take that step to come back to Albania and live there yourself. And some of that is rooted in jealousy as well. If you could make one creative project, no limit, full support, in Albania, what would it be about and who would it be for?
Firstly, I would love to do a collaboration with a big artist. So whether that's someone in Albania, the thing is, like, I wish Vachazela was alive, so I could have met her, and I would have loved to do a collaboration with her. But no, there are so many amazing artists still around as well. So I love Alban Skandar. I think he's got a beautiful voice. But one of the things that would be amazing would be like to do a song with them, but about something really meaningful. So I love the idea of something becoming mainstream and like everyone's listening to it, even if it's just passively, but it's actually feeding them really beautiful, meaningful words. Maybe about, like, it could even just be a simple message, like about how they are worthy of being here. Like, you never know who needs to hear that. They're good enough, because I know, like, a lot of the Albanians, especially Albanian youth that I've met, have I don't know if I'd necessarily call it trauma. I guess it is a form of trauma, or like they just feel unworthy, or they feel like they're not good enough for their family. They have a lot of high expectations to meet. They have low self-esteem, that kind of thing. Or they feel like their worth is based on their money, that how much money they have and their wealth. So yeah, I would love to like create a song or something with a famous artist that could go really big, about the fact that you're not defined by your wealth, you're defined by your character, and yeah, something like that. Just something with a nice positive message, but that would be on a big scale.
Definitely, I think Alban Skandera does some of the most amazing songs with those type of emotions and everything in it as well. And from what you said as well, I think during Albania, like I remember as a diaspora, we'd listen to like Conga Populora and be like, "What is this old people music?" Like I'm just, I'm not. But as we've grown, as we've aged, as everything, some of the most best songs that come out now are ones with samples of Populora, and people have gone back, and of course we've gone back as well and listened to it, like Tuman Kulture and everything, and we're like, wow, these are beautiful songs. So yeah, if something like that could be done, it would be amazing. Will we ever see you on Festivali Kongs? Have you ever thought about it?
um, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've thought about it. I don't know if I'm ready yet, but yeah, we'll see.
And what would you say to a young creative in the diaspora who feels like their story is too complicated to express or too unusual to embrace?
I would say that is their strength. So the fact that they think it's unusual or complicated it actually means that they're really unique, and that's the type of story that people want to hear. Because if they were just like everybody else, that would be boring. Nobody wants to hear that. So I would say really embrace that, um and just build on that and share it with the world, and don't be scared or embarrassed. Like, I think often some of the best creatives or storytellers are ones who don't care what other people think about them, and they just go for it, and then you'll always find an audience, because there are like 8 billion people in the world. Of course you will find your audience from that, so just don't be afraid to share it.
If there was one thing that the audience today could take away from our podcast, what would you want it for them to be?
I think maybe, as a Brit who isn't even Albanian, that's moved to Albania, to maybe consider that as a realistic option. Because for me, I'd say the only thing that is difficult is the language. But if you're an Albanian diaspora and you already speak the language or maybe a bit of it, then that will help you by like tenfold. So I would say definitely don't be afraid to consider moving to Albania. I think it's an amazing place to live, and and just explore. Yeah.
How have you found the language actually? How the different dialects? I know you're in Tirana, but of course you've traveled as well. How has it been?
So I would say it's a really difficult language, because the grammar is so hard. So for me, like just to say the most basic sentence, like if I want to say like this is your phone, the just to think of like which case I'm in. So like am I in nominative, accusative, dhanore, redore, whatever, all those things, and then think about what form of your do I use? Like, is it like uti turned? Like all of those things. So that is so difficult for me. Like, and then sometimes I just don't say anything because I'm like, I'm gonna get it so wrong. I'll just stay silent. Um, so that is pretty hard, and it sometimes makes me feel like I'll never get there. Sometimes I'm like, what's the point? I'll just speak in English because people will understand me anyway. Um, yeah, that's the honest truth. It's just so hard.
I think there's a thing there as well. My friend is actually fully English, has come to Albania as well. Is that you will try to speak Albanian to someone and then they'll respond to you in English because they're like, oh, I know English more than you know Albanian. And that's one of the
Yeah.
biggest struggles as well. But the question to you is, I was also, what do you mean by cases? I've never heard of it. So it might be something I don't know.
So the thing is, you probably, because you've never learned it by studying, you've
Yeah,
just heard it, right?
yeah.
So let me tell you. So like if I said chanta, like for bag, the bag, but then like sometimes you end it chanton,
Chanting,
like
yeah, chanta.
y-
Yeah,
yeah, or if like you put something in the bag, no, or no, the let's say the strap of the bag, then it would be like whatever strap I chantit, or like
yeah.
you know what I mean. So
The
those
suffixes,
word,
yeah.
yeah, the way that the word ending changes, that's a different case that's being used, and yeah, it's really complicated.
It,
Like
it, remember I was saying something about I think I said the horse died. And I said like, kadik kale. And they say, no, you can't say dick. You have to say kastsoft. Because you only
oh,
apparently say dick for a person and
oh.
soft for anything else. But then I said something about the bee dying. And I said, okay, the bee katsoft. And they're like, no, bees are sacred. You have to say kadik. So,
Yeah,
obviously,
exactly. There's so many like random rules that you
exactly.
only know if you're like native.
Exactly, but you just have to keep on testing. And as you said as well, it's best just to keep on testing. Even when I was learning the language, I'd come to Albania and then they'll try to speak English to me. I said, I'm not responding to you unless you're speaking to me in Albanian. I don't care if we can't speak. I have to learn, so you have to speak to me in this language.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what Naeem does sometimes. He just like throws me into the deep end. And it is really difficult, but I guess it has helped, so fair play.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah. It's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast. What is your next steps? Where can people find you?
I will still be posting on social media. I am working on a few new songs now, so keep an eye out on YouTube as well. Um, yeah, I can't wait for everybody to hear what I've been working on.
Amazing. Soon to come. Soon to come.
Yes.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast as well. It's been a great conversation.